become, you know, a big factor this year.
Business community is a real advocate for us right now. They want this housing built, and no offense to most of us in this room, they want housing built for 20-somethings who are single, who want to live in a downtown and be able to walk to 5 different restaurants. And I'm with them on that. And that's where everybody wants the housing to go. We can do it a lot more quickly. From a fairness point of view, I think housing should be widely distributed. And I tell, look, I'm from Greenwich, so now I'm sort of living on the West Hartford border. They're the Canners. And I tell the folks down there every day, you know what I love about West Hartford? They allowed Blumenthal Square to be built. You want to know what? West Hartford's about 10 years younger than the town where I'm growing up. And there's a lot of vibrancy and life in that downtown area. And I'd like to see our other towns sort of follow the West Hartford lead, to be blunt about it. And that doesn't mean carving up your zoning. How am I doing, Sherry? She wrote it out for
me. I'm going to go back to values, and I think you have certainly made your case about your belief in taking a hard line on spending. But you know, a former member of the administration who now runs United Way, Lisa Tepper-Bates, you know, talks about the jump in calls for help on basic needs. I think they're up 25%. The calls for help for mental health, addiction services, they're up by 50%. Again, you have choices to make here. So how can you tell those communities that it's more important to be fiscally conservative, fiscally disciplined, and that over the long haul, there'll be more money available for these kinds of things?
I gotta make choices, and I have a legislature who wants to make choices. I can, like I said, we've got the biggest investments ever, and that's because we have a growing economy and what that means. Some people in the legislature, I'm trying to give average middle class guy a $50 a month tax cut. A lot of people that say that's too much. Okay, that's a choice I made. I think it sends a signal, so I'm trying to push hard. I think it makes a difference for a lot of people. Other people want me to spend money in other places. But I'm proud of what we've got in this budget. If a budget is a reflection of your values, I like what it says about the state of Connecticut. I like what it says about the investments we're making in kids. That's kids, you know, from the nurse there before that child is born, to expansion of daycare, to paid family and medical leave, right through to the best K-12 education system in the country. You know, everyone always says, you know, we spend more per teacher than just about any state in the country, and damn it, I'm proud of that. And I want you to do something else. I want you to thank a teacher when you see them. Every day I want them to say it's the most important job in the world. We need you there every day. You know, some of them are getting drunk. Can't teach this. Get rid of that book. Thank the teachers for what they do. It's our greatest asset. It's the best opportunity for these kids.
You're really begging me to ask you why you're not then want to accelerate education cost sharing aid to municipalities as the...
Like I said, for the last 4 years we've been talking about we're flat funding education, how much are we going to have to cut education? And Paz is saying you're only increasing education spending this year by 7 or 8%. And that's on top of another $700 million that Joe Biden gave us still to be invested in education. So at least I like the debate. How come you're only increasing it by 7%? Why aren't you increasing it faster? I want to make sure, look, Bridgeport doesn't have a superintendent of schools. New Haven doesn't have a super. I mean, I want to make sure this money is invested in a way that makes a big difference for these kids. And I think we're making progress. I think those schools are making progress.
So post-COVID, what's the role of the cities given that offices more and more are empty? There's certainly some unhappiness in Hartford that you've allowed state employees to stay up, you know, the ones who can make it work, stay home for, I guess, 2 days.
Well, hold it, allowed. They took me to arbitration and I lost. I said, please come half-time. You determine with your manager which is the half you want to come. But we're making progress. People are coming back to work. Look, the good news on Hartford is we probably have thousands of people who moved into the city over the last 5 years. And you've been blessed with a really great mayor, by the way, Luke Roden. I hope you know that. I think he's made a big difference. These guys, no, they're not. I'm working with Hartford. I'm working with Edna. I'm trying to get travelers, trying to get state employees. I want more people downtown. I like our downtowns when they're lively. I loved our downtown when we had 45,000 people cheering on the Yukon Huskies.
Yeah.
And that's 10 times more people. You know, I asked Paz, I said, Paz, you ever seen so many people in downtown Hartford at one time? He said, yeah, the wipe your anti-tax revolt. It's a real lifter upper. Anyway, what was the question?
Well, if you're such a big booster in the city, so what's going to happen with the Excel Center? I mean, that's been...
All right, so here's the deal in the Excel Center, and I was a little bit grump on this one, I got to admit it. Everybody said I want the taxpayers to put up $100 million and fix up the Excel Center so we keep going the way we've always been going. And I said the way we've always been going is not the way I want to do it. And frankly, we're state government, we're not that great at running event venues. So I said, I'm willing to come in, I'm willing to do $100 million, it's your money, by the way, provided we go in with a strong partner who focuses on events. So I've got one of the leading event companies in the country coming in. They're going to do 20, we're going to do 90 or 100 or something like that. And I love it, because then that means these guys have relationships all over the country. So if Mick Jagger says, I want to play a Fenway Park and a Madison Square Garden, this event planner can say, you can do that, but only if you also do the Excel Center as well. Having a strong partner there leverages your dollar, really going to make it much more of an opportunity for success.
For a split second, his staff was terrified he was about to do his Mick Jagger impression.
Oh, come on.
Keith lives in Connecticut. He thinks Connecticut's cool. Keith Richards, that is.
Is Keith there? No. What about the money, though? Are you willing to put up the bonding? Because that's been the question. There was a very...
We'll do that. You've got to have a lively Excel Center here in Hartford. I know what it means when that place is packed. It's not packed though often, but as I was saying, I love to see the life it brings to our city, what it means. I love seeing the crowded streets. I know what it means to the restaurants. We're working like heck, making sure the Yukon, the world's greatest basketball teams in the world, to come and keep playing at the Excel Center, and they will.
All right, let's shift away from money, since I'm making no progress whatsoever on it. There was an issue recently on commutations. Connecticut had not been commuting many sentences, be 1, 2, 3 a year, and then last year all of a sudden we're 71. You removed Carlin Giles as the chair of that board, but you did stand by his reappointment to another term. One of the things I'm not clear on is, did you object to the substance of the idea of commutations, or was it a question of his failure to adequately communicate the new rules of the road and why we went from 2 or 3 to 71?
I think a little more of the latter. So a lot of states, the governor pardons people, and they always do that at the end. In this state, and I think wisely, we don't do that. We have a board of pardons and parole. I get to appoint a lot of these people. And so, look, we locked them up and threw away the key back in the 1990s, right? There were a lot of 20-year-old kids who did something really horrific. I mean, murders that were ghastly. And now it's 30 years later, and they're in their 50s, and Mr. Giles said, look, I think we have a new criminal justice theory, and these people have served time, they've been very productive, they're getting job skills there, and I think we can reduce their sentence from 50 years to 40 years. And everybody says, they've taken 10 years off the sentence. That makes a lot of intuitive sense to me, to tell you the truth, and I'm supportive of that. What I did worry about, and there was a lot of heartbreak or heart-wrenching in this state, was when we went from whatever it was 70 commutations, 7 one year to 70 the next year. And so I did say, look, maybe it's time we take a pause, get the legislature involved, make sure the board has an opportunity to explain what they're doing, why they're doing it. This is why you have a legislature. They want to weigh in on what I think are some reasonable things we're doing on criminal justice. We're closing down prisons. You go to Cheshire Prison, and I went to Cheshire Prison, my security guys hated this, but you walk in there, and first thing the guy says is, young man, he can't be more than 19 or 20, welcome to my gated community. And then he said, you know, it's sick, but it's sad, and tragic, but I had to be here to get my first opportunity at a college course. So that had a lot of meaning to me. And so it's a pause, but we're not changing our direction, I don't believe, on criminal justice.
So I believe that what you're referring to in Cheshire is what's known as the true unit, right? It's for the younger offenders up to age 25. And that was something that was begun by the previous administration, the idea of recognizing, you know, judgment is not fully developed until then. And there was a hope that there would be perhaps an entire facility on that model, but the funding wasn't there. So are there any hopes to expand that kind of model? Because unlike other prisons and even other units within Cheshire, I mean, this is a very different place. You know, there were other parts of Cheshire where your security would not have allowed you to wander around the way you can in the true unit, where you can be chatting with somebody who's doing time for murder, but who is a mentor to these 18, 19, 20-year-olds. So again, you know, I guess it does come back to money. Damn it, it all does. How do you make?
Well, first of all, within we're shrinking the number of folks who are incarcerated, taking a second look at sentencing, and shrinking, and we have fewer prisons today. And our prisons are correctional facilities, giving people an opportunity to get back on their feet. You wouldn't believe, if you go to these places, it's usually, you know, mental health and addiction is afflicting, you know, vast majority of these people. So the idea that shackles is the best way to help these people get on their feet is a different question. So whether I need new facilities to do that pass,
No,
or
the
different
idea
type of training in there.
of making that standard, the idea of rehabilitation, because on the other side of Cheshire, they're still locked down for a good part of the day. And that's how that, you know, that place is run. But we are nearing the end of our hour, and I want to keep my promise to you that we will only keep you for an hour. But since you're kind enough to come here and sort of answer some of my questions, I'll invite you to. Oh, by the way, there's this assumption, you know, we won't be seeing you on election day in a couple of years as a candidate. Is that still the plan? Is that the plan?
There's no plan. I'll tell you, I'll be blunt. I love the job. I really do. Great. I think people are feeling a little better about the state than maybe they were 5 or 10 years ago. I feel like we're making progress. I think I'm getting to know the Capitol. They're getting to know me. I get it, but I think we're working together pretty well as well. And we got some. I got to make up my mind what I do in the future. You know, I'm 69. Life marches on. I can tell you, but I don't know. Biden's 80, so.
So you're open to running for a third term?
Yes.
Yes.
Not you, him.
But we'll see. We got some great people in this state. I gotta let time will sort things out. I just got elected 6 months ago. Can I get back to work?
All right.
Any more questions?
I don't believe there are. Thank you all very much for coming. I know we didn't open it to questions, and I can see Mr. Flynn raising his hand, but we are at the end of our hour. So I would bid you all good night.
I'll tell you just one thing, if I can. CT mirror is pretty good, and it's worth paying attention to. I read it every day. And, you know, Kaz can be a real pain, but he knows his stuff. And of all the reporters out there, I know the point of view of each and every one of them. Less so Mark Pasnio, because he's an old-fashioned journalist that way, and I really admire you for that. Thanks, everybody.
The surest way to embarrass a reporter is to compliment.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, right. Oh, I have salad. What you're doing is all salad.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming around. Thank you. That's really true. I talk to them every day. They know their, you know better than everywhere I go. Don't be shy. Come on. I'll be there. Thanks, man. Thank you very much.
Oh, baby, yeah.
We got things open. Hey, John. Nice to see you, buddy.
Love to stop by sometime and have a chat.
Come over right now. Going home. I'm glad you're fine. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How's your helicopter? Good chase.
That was pretty okay. How you doing? Great.
You know they have.
Is that right? Yeah. I think they mentioned they are thinking about some stuff. The prices. You're very prolific. You have to break it by
Maybe 1 year. Maybe 1 year.
Okay. Okay.
And the other thing is just the nonprofit network, especially in the and we know as well as anyone there's a mental health. I appreciate the things you put forth in the last week. That's part of it, and some of that actually hasn't been renewed. They're literally providers who are going to push programs because there's no continual funding. Now, I was on a phone call with someone from the United Way.
I don't think this continued any funding.
There was an article. I can also tell you that I was on the phone today just with a representative from 211 United Way, and their call volumes just off the chart. And we know when we expected it. The pandemic was a huge
I was trying to think of another question because I figured that's probably where you would go with like your family. So I was trying to think of something else more clever, but that was the best way. Hi.
the happy dance last year.
It's turning you back on Johnny, that's what it is.
George, what I would hope,
That is one piece of the puzzle.
not that anybody's cut any funding, that I know. In fact, we have more funding committed this year than last
I
year.
will have to find out. I've been told there are
guy with
providers
the
that
beard.
are cutting programs. But anyway, I won't take any more of your time. Thank you for being
How are you?
Blumenthal. I'm the president and CEO of the National Conference for Justice. We're a nonprofit organization. Just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity, and I'll be inviting people to our events.
Thank you. I hope you saw my thinking anyway on criminal justice and what we're trying to do. I hope we're headed in the right direction. Hey, I saw you raise your hand and clap. You're the only person to clap. I like you. You had Eversworth sitting right behind you for that conversation. I'm really smart. What's this person?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can't get all these
How have you been?
I was just
I'm sorry? I'm Johnny Flynn.
What are you taking videos of?
Well, I was trying to ask you two questions. One's if 5G is safe, because Miss Gillette is running 5G, and as far as my studies are, it is extremely dangerous for any child to be near a router, to be near a smart meter, and 5G is a million times stronger than 4G. So that was one of my questions. The second one was, Ted Bromley was fired for rigging 12 elections because of a lawsuit. His attorney wrote an affidavit saying that the petitioning candidates' signatures went to Hearst, not to the delegates, not to the registrars or the town clerks, and I'm one of those candidates. I ran for U.S. Senate. I got 57,962 signatures. I only needed 5,000, and you guys didn't put me on the ballot. Spent 4 years shaking hands. It's not fair.
I don't know about either of those cases, but
Well, if you could get back to me, I have about 1 million people asking me, is 5G safe? It's not. You think you should look into it before. Every kid is infertile. Every child is autistic, which is what they say will happen. I think it's pressing.
happy to follow up if you want to
Cool.
have a long conversation.
Awesome. Pleasure. Wow, I got my questions in. I'm so happy. Hello. Want to say hello? Say hello.
Hi, John.
Nice to see you. What are you up to?
I think happy to have a longer conversation with you. Would prefer not to be on camera. If that's
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Fine. Well, I'm done. I thought you wanted to.